Okay, so here we are for the second night of Facebook Live with Matthew. I am said person. How are you? I'm not doing this alone this evening. I am going to be bringing in an individual who has been on this program, has shared screen time with me multiple times. Over the years, we had the opportunity to meet back in maybe 2018, 2019. Work had sent me to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and my next guest, Nick Mulae, who is a paranormal investigator, writer, producer, who just finished a marathon show of his own. So we're just waiting for Nick Mulae, who is in Glenview, Illinois this evening. He is south of the border. There's a 2-hour time difference, so it's just after 7 o'clock in Illinois, where the weather this evening is clouds, snow showers, I guess is the term that they're using this evening, -7 degrees Celsius in the state of Illinois. Here in North End, Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, we're looking at clouds and a low of -17. It's cloudy out right now. I can see the bridge off in the distance, but it was cloudy here an hour ago. They are expecting the temperature to drop to -17 tonight, sunshine, -5 tomorrow, with a special weather statement already in place for a weather system moving into Nova Scotia on Friday. Okay, so that's how I like to start off my show, with the weather. I have a slew of questions that I'm just waiting to ask Nick Mulae. And this is Nick Mulae's eve of his birthday. I know Nick is celebrating a birthday tomorrow. I think he's going to be 29 tomorrow. So he is celebrating the final year of his 20s. So when Nick does join the broadcast, we'll sing him happy birthday. I will lip sync it. I'll lip sync it because I'm much better at doing that. So thank you for the live views, and I apologize for, the lack of hair, the lack of makeup, and the lack of lighting. A face for radio, yes. Waiting for Nick Mulae. Again, he just finished his own show. He's a paranormal investigator. He's been doing it for many years. He is a part of a lot of different organizations, and they're all telling their story on Facebook Live. So I know he just finished up his own show. I don't know if he's watching right now. If you're watching this broadcast, wherever you are this evening, just put your name in the comments section so I know who I'm dealing with. Now, I haven't done a Facebook Live in a while because I was doing everything on StreamYard. And one of the good things about StreamYard, it's a free website. You can simultaneously broadcast on Facebook Live on the StreamYard. The couple of good things I like about StreamYard, everything is the way it should be as far as logos. Everything is not reversed. Like right now, this is reversed because of the camera. So you get everything the way it should be, and you can bring multiple people into the broadcast. So those are a couple good features. But this evening, right here on Facebook Live with Matthew, Sandy, welcome. Mark Peachy, welcome to the broadcast. So I'm just waiting for Nick Mulae. He may have to have a bathroom break. I don't know. Like I said, he was doing a marathon show. So I'm just going to give him some time. But here's what I did, and here's what I do for people that come on this broadcast. And I might as well tell you the lineup that I already have. This is part of a challenge for me. Steve Wilsack, who has just been instrumental in everything that's happening right now, challenged me to do 5 consecutive nights of Facebook Live with Matthew. This is my second night. Last night was just myself in front of the camera, just giving you the background of why I do what I do. And if you want to see that, it's about 35 minutes. It really doesn't get interesting until the last 5 minutes of the show. But I'm just, this is what I want to do. And the lineup that I have, I will be speaking with Steve Wilsack tomorrow night, right here at 9 o'clock. Friday night, I'll be speaking with our good friend, Simon McGinnis, who back in the day put together the video that went with the opening of Matt TV that was written, sung by, and produced by Joe Desmond out west. So Simon McGinnis will be on here Friday night, and I've already booked an individual for Monday night, Christy Carter, who I've never met. She is a friend, and I think I got the last name correct. When I flip the paper at the end of the broadcast, I'll let you know exactly who it is, but I'm pretty sure it's Christy Carter. I've never met this lady. She's a friend of Steve Wilsack. She's a stunt person, and I went to her IMBD just to get her background, so she is going to participate on this Facebook Live with Matthew. So I'm getting into a groove. I know Jen has said thousands of times, if she could just hug everyone on the planet. She's a big fan of Mother Teresa. That would be great. I would be right alongside her wanting to talk to everyone on the planet. I know that may seem a bit extreme, but everyone's got a story. Everyone's got a story. I'm going to have to go searching. Like I said, I wanted to do a bit of a test run before we actually got to this point. But like I said, Nick was doing his own thing. He ran a little bit over. So pardon my fingers. I don't know what's going to show up here on the camera. I'll keep my fingers away, but I do have to go searching for Nick Mulae. So again, I haven't used this feature in a while. So we're learning together. Guest requests. So right now, the only people that I can invite to the broadcast are Sandy and Tom McNicholas. And that's okay. That's okay, because I like both of those people. Sandy, Tom McNicholas. So out of the people that are watching this right now, I can only invite two of them into the broadcast. And unfortunately, those are the two people that I don't want into the broadcast. And please, don't take that the wrong way. Okay, so Nick is in here right now. So Nick, Nick, if you can try and invite yourself into this broadcast, and I will accept, and we will continue on. Or I may have to go searching again. Again, this is Facebook Live. I haven't done this in a while. It can be a little bit touchy. Sometimes you want to go play, but the technology, the algorithm says, no, not right now. Okay, he's saying give me a minute. Okay, that's totally fine. Maybe he's doing a wardrobe change. But just to tee this up, the person that I'm going to be talking to, he's been on the show multiple times, Nick Mulae, paranormal investigator from Glenview, Illinois, celebrating a birthday tomorrow. So I'm thankful that he can spend the last night of this last year in this birthday with me. Truly amazing. He's also a writer and a producer. And I have like 10 or 11 questions that I'm hoping he's never been asked before. That's what I love to do, especially with people that I've never met. This is my platform to get to know things about individuals that I don't know. That's why we ask questions. So as you're watching this, I have questions for Nick Mulae, paranormal investigator. Maybe you have a question for the Paranormal Society as a whole. Maybe you have something specific for Nick. This is your opportunity to do so. So it's not just me. The back and forth just does not have to be with me only. If you're here live, this is your opportunity to ask as well. So we're going to talk about, like I said, I have some things I want to talk to him about. But I'll mention this right now because there are some pretty haunted areas in Nova Scotia. So as I'm doing my research today, and everything that I've seen or that I'm going to talk about tonight with Nick are things that I've pulled off his own Facebook. And that's the disclaimer. Anyone who comes on this show, I am just finding information out about you that you've already posted. So nothing is going to surprise you when we actually get to the topic because you've already posted it, you're already talking about it. I'm just trying to extract a little more information out of it. So we're going to talk about paranormal investigating, absolutely. But I want to tell Nick, and I might as well tell you because you're here along for the ride. No worries, Nick. Trust me, if we go over the challenge from Steve was to do 5 consecutive shows 30 minutes in length. He didn't say anything about doing shows going over 30 minutes. I can do 35, I can do 40, I can do whatever. Because if you're watching it live, it's a bonus. If you're watching this at a leisure, well, that's your own convenience. That's the beauty of the internet. When I'm done, I'm done. I finish it, I save it, I rewatch it, I critique it. But you get to watch it with a coffee or whatever your favorite beverage is. Okay, Nick is watching, so I'm going to save the haunted areas of Nova Scotia because Nick, I don't think Nick has ever done any haunting investigating in Canada. So I'm gonna like blow his mind with some of the stories. And there are two locations that are within walking distance. One of the places I walk by it every day. Okay, let's see if we can bring Nick. Pardon my fingers. Send an invite to Nick, and I'm really hoping this works because I haven't done this in quite a while. So the next image that you see, I'm hoping, will be Nick Mulae. It's connecting.
There he is.
And there he is. How are you, Nick?
Doing how are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. Listen, I getting messages from you in this broadcast here. I was telling everyone that you just finished your own show. How long did you go before hopping on here?
Oh man, I got to be honest with you. Usually I go for my show for just an hour or so, but I actually ended up going like around probably about like an hour and 20 minutes. And by the way, before I continue else, if you do hear pounding upstairs, that's my mom, hitting something for dinner. So I do apologize for the noise upstairs.
That's okay. Nick, your birthday's tomorrow.
That's the noise you're hearing upstairs.
I can't hear any noise right now. And I just probably would have thought that it was like a spirit or something.
No, our house is not haunted, unfortunately. But yeah, I get what you mean.
Okay. Your birthday's tomorrow, so just thank you for taking the time to hang out with us tonight. You've been on this show multiple times, so you know what is about to happen. So I've come up with like 10 or 11 questions. I did send you the questions. I don't know if you were able to decipher any of that.
Sorry, I just had to fix something on my phone. I wasn't able to I didn't see the questions as far as I knew, so
Okay.
You may just have to surprise me on it.
Okay, well, I was just telling the audience.
So I do apologize for not seeing.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I sent it in Messenger, just to kind of give you an idea of what we're going to talk about. But nothing's going to come as a surprise. So, are you ready? Let's get into this, Nick. I want people to know more about Nick because I think there may be people there may be people watching tonight who have no idea who you are. So at the end of this, I want people to go, wow, that Nick was a really interesting paranormal investigator. So let's do that, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. I also just shared the show, by the way, so I've expanded the audience,
perfect.
hopefully.
Excellent. Okay, Nick, let's start right from the very beginning. This is something that I pulled off your own Facebook page. Now just listen because there's a few things that I want you to explain to me when I'm done. And it's just in regards to one of your latest live streams. It was on the 21st of February. You're driving on Cuba Road. And in that short video, excuse me, in that short video on Cuba Road, you made reference to a few things. And I want you to expand on those if you can. You made reference to a lady with a lantern that I think maybe you witnessed, the hearse, the mobster in the rearview mirror, and the white cemetery. Now, you made reference to all those in this stream on Cuba Road. So just tell us, what are you talking about? What does all that mean?
So Cuba Road, to begin with, it's a notorious haunted road. It's out in the town of Barrington, Illinois, which is just like about a half hour from where I live. And it's a notorious, not only is there a road to it, but there's also a cemetery by the area that's called White Cemetery that also has a reputation of being haunted. I don't think they use it for burials anymore, but it's almost about a 200-year-old cemetery in that area, if I'm correct on that. But the road itself, it's one of those, it's the kind of place that like a lot of the kids, teens, and young adults have gone to. I mean, it's one of those places where it's attracted all these people for ages, and there's these ghost stories associated with this road. But some of the stories that are involved The most notorious of them is that supposedly there was a haunted hearse that, a ghost hearse, let's call it that, that's said to, every once in a while appear right on the road. There's no real history, like exactly what the hearse may have been in the light, like if anybody actually drove a hearse in that area, or if it was I don't know, but they call it a ghost hearse. And what will happen is either one of two things will often occur. On many occasions, for people who are driving down the road at night, the hearse will actually appear, like the headlights will appear literally right behind the back of their, like at the tail end of their car, will chase them down the road.
Wow.
And of course, getting chased down in the middle of the night, that's got to be quite a scary experience for some. But on other occasions, the other occasion is sometimes people will see it from a distance, and they usually will only just see the headlights of it, and then all of a sudden the whole thing vanishes. And that is actually something I've witnessed. I've seen the hearse. To make a long story short, I saw it now about 7 years ago, back in 2015. A few friends of mine and I, we did something. There's another term out there that's called legend tripping, which is, it's the same as paranormal investigating, but it's basically like that. It's the same thing, but you're trying to figure out if these legends are true or not.
Mm-hmm.
So we went down the road. This was one of my first times going there after dark. And it's kind of funny. Every time we saw a car that did pass by, we always called them peasants. We were like, oh, just another peasant. I don't know where that term came from, but and this is a road that not too many people really go down, because it's kind of like a rural road with wooded areas. The houses are all scattered about. So we drove down. It's about a 3-mile road at least, maybe 4 miles. We drove down once, and of course, as usual, we didn't really experience anything. But we decided to turn around and go down the opposite direction, because sometimes it's always best to go both directions. And we see a car that's probably about 5, maybe 600 feet down the road. We thought of either two things. We thought either it's another peasant, or we were actually getting kind of nervous because we thought, I don't know what the hell that was. Did you hear that? Did you hear like some screech or something?
It may be a door here. Your place is haunted, Nick.
It might. Was that from your side?
Yeah, it was. It was.
It literally sounded like it was coming from behind me. That kind of freaked me out a bit. And I'm in the basement, so that actually makes it even more unsettling.
And my show.
But anyways,
we have a budget now for sound effects, Nick.
Yeah. But yeah, we go down the road and we see these headlights again. We think it's either another peasant, or we think, well, even though we're not trespassing or doing anything wrong, we thought, well, maybe it's a cop that's probably waiting. And the headlights shut off. We're like, okay, well, that's kind of weird, because again, we thought maybe it was a cop sneaking on us. But when we got down to that side of the road, that car that we saw, it was gone. Like, just disappeared. And where it parked, there was no driveway to any houses. There was no turnways. There wasn't even an area where you could pull over to the side of the road. It was just gone. And this was still during the early days of Facebook Live. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to film it live back then. But my friends and I were kind of looking at each other like, did we really just see that? It's like, I think we just, and I told them, I think we just saw the hearse, guys.
It sounds like
I think it's a very active road.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one final segment of that, because objects in the mirror appear. What's the saying? Objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. So you look in the rearview mirror and there's a mobster in the back seat, or is he out on? Where is this mobster that we're seeing?
So the story that I remember hearing was this. So again, another ghost story associated with it is there's like, no one could ever see the supposed like mobster or gang member's face. It usually always appears in shadow. But on some occasions, once again at night, people who have been who drive down that road, down that road, no particular time. It just happens, at any point in time. People often have reported seeing basically the figure, or like the shadowy figure of a man. It looks like a gang member or some kind of mobster, probably from the 1920s, because he's wearing one of those, you know, what do you call those hats? You know what I'm talking about, right? Like bull hats, or I can't remember the term of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking of a dunce cap.
You get the idea. But, no, it's no, not one of those. It's a different type of hat. I can't remember what you call them. But it's like 1920 style. He's often usually seen smoking a cigar, and of course, by the time people usually see it in their rear view mirror, and by the time that they turn around, this figure it's just gone. And finally, to kind of, because you were also asking about the lantern.
Yes.
Finally, the third story that I know of Cuba Road is that there's also a story that involves an old woman that's sometimes seen again. Obviously, this is a place where a lot of stuff usually occurs after dark. People have often reported seeing the ghost of an old woman, probably like in her 60s, 70s, or 80s, somewhere around there. And she's often seen bobbing a lantern, moving it up and down. And again, I've never actually seen these two entities, but I did see the lantern again. It was the same thing we had. It was a few nights we came back on Cuba Road, and we did the same thing. We drove down one direction, nothing happened. We turned around. It just seemed like things really happened after when we started the second, when we came back around. And as we're driving around, right off in the distance, I saw this brief white, like, orb going up. Like, it just went like this, and then it just disappeared. So I didn't actually see the woman, but I did see the lantern, though. So definitely a place that, doesn't disappoint.
Okay, that leads me to this. When you said that, you went by the first time, nothing happened. When you went by the second time, it seemed that you stirred up the spirits. Is it possible that they sense that, hey, there's humans here, let's go out and freak them out a bit? You think they sense when people are there?
I think it's very possible, because I don't know exactly how long, it's been so popular. I mean, the earliest I found involved in this place, it goes back to at least the late 1940s, early 1950s, when these legend trips and ghost hunts, kind of began. In fact, my aunt once told me a few years ago, when she was a teenager back in the late 70s, she and her friends would often go down that road. So it's like I said, it's been popular for generation after generation. And of course, again, the more kids, teens, and young adults that come out to that area, the longer the story it's gotten. And of course, the more active it probably gets. And in addition to, that's where you get new ghost stories and legends associated with it. So it would not be surprising to me if next couple decades after this, there's going to be probably more ghost stories created for that road.
Yeah. Okay. If you're just joining the stream, this is Matthew. This is Facebook Live with Matthew. We're speaking with Nick Mulae, paranormal investigator, writer, producer, in his comfy confines in Glenview, Illinois this evening, 2 hours behind. Birthday boy tomorrow. Let's move on to the next thing. We've got Carl in here. Chrissy's in here. I believe Tom McNicholas is in here. Jeremy York is in here all watching. So thank you for the live views. I appreciate it. Nick, let's move on to something else. Expectations. When you are preparing yourself to go on a haunting investigation, expectations, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Some people say it's a good thing. Others say sometimes it may be a bad thing. I guess it kind of depends on, who you're talking to. But for me, it's usually a good thing, because a lot of times I'm often prepared for what we're going to be, expecting. Not only, like just before we begin the investigation, but just knowing what we could possibly encounter. Of course, there's no guarantees, because I always tell a lot of people out there, because, the movies, some of the TV shows out there, they make them look like they're really intense, they're really active, like some of the shows will show like activity occurring every few minutes. Well, in reality, that's not the case. That actually occurs within a span of hours, and sometimes things don't ever happen. I even tell newcomers, I'm not discouraging them, but I do tell them that 90% of paranormal investigating is usually boring. You go to these places, you investigate them, and for the most part, nothing happens. It's really that kind of type of event where you literally have to be at the right place at the right time. But even if nothing happens, I'm still satisfied because I'm living up to my identity.
Okay. Good point. Good point. Let's talk about your level of comfort. Who do you feel more comfortable going out and doing investigating with? People who have the same level of experience. You have expertise, or a combination of newcomers? And just answer that, but I just want to add, so you go out with a group of 6 people. Do those individuals have specific roles that they do?
Yeah, we do have particular rules. There's a lot of people out there who often will usually will want to investigate with their own teams. I'm not saying that it's like that for every paranormal group. And I see Chrissy actually just wrote a comment here because I got my computer right behind. She said you spend more time setting up equipment than anything most of the time. That is absolutely correct, Chrissy. I mean, literally, the equipment I set up, it literally takes probably about unless I have extra hands, it literally takes about maybe 25 minutes to almost a half hour for me to actually set up everything right before we even investigate. But but going back to like the rules and the people that I investigate with, I'm someone who investigates with different groups. I mean, I'm part of a group now, but if there's like certain individuals that are like at an event or something, I would be more than honored to investigate with them. Our paranormal community is truly a family. So, yes, a lot of us may be on different teams, but we're all after the same, we're all after and interested in the same thing.
Okay, good answer. I want to go back to the technology. What difference does it make if you are getting your technology that is low end compared to state-of-the-art equipment? What's the benefit? Are you able to pick up more? Are the readings more intense? Like, is that the whole general idea of purchasing more expensive equipment?
So in some way, it does get a little bit more intense with the equipment. It also depends on which exact equipment you're using. Excuse me. We're not trying to obviously start things up, but we're just only like the tools that we use is more or less to be used documenting if there is actual paranormal activity occurring. Again, just because you set up equipment, again, there's no guarantee that you're going to get something. You might get, a brief, maybe a light flashing or maybe a brief voice or whatnot. Like if you're using like a flashlight or something like what we call a ghost box or spirit box, which I have 2 of them, an SB7 and SB11, as well as one other spirit box, which I can't remember the name of it, but that's the whole point. So setting the equipment up, it's not really to see. And again, Chrissy says different spirits will interact with different equipment. So okay. The equipment that we also use, not all of it is like your typical modernized state-of-the-art, technology. We also use tools that are very much old-fashioned. Some stuff that have been used for centuries, in fact. Like some of the old tools, to give a couple examples, is like dowsing rods, a crystal, a pendulum. I'm not really someone who uses Ouija boards because there are people who use them, and of course, they also say sometimes they're relatively safe, but I've also heard horror stories involved, so I don't ever use those. But I do use a similar board, which is what I call a pendulum board, which is like a little, kind of looks like an Ouija board, but you're using a pendulum. And in addition, a pendulum, crystals, and Chrissy also just wrote cat balls, which is a more recent tool that's been used for activities. So it really depends on the particular tools, but a lot of times, although I got a lot of the modern stuff, a lot of times I also prefer the older stuff because I think it's more legit.
Okay. Hazard assessment, tailgates. When you are getting ready, you're going into a facility. Let's kind of break this down a little bit. How do you approach an investigative haunt going into, say, a jail as opposed to going into something like an old warehouse or a cemetery? How does that change the plan for the evening?
Before I answer, I got to be honest. It's funny you mentioned about a jail because I'm actually supposed to be investigating a jail in just a few weeks. I'm heading to Crown Point Jail, which is out in Crown Point, Indiana. It's about an hour, hour and a half away. And I've investigated it a number of times. Definitely a place that doesn't disappoint. So it's funny you mentioned about a jail. I think the changes when it comes, I mean, like, I guess you can kind of say a change of plans, if you will, for lack of a better term. Because we've investigated different types of places. We've investigated jails, we've investigated schools. I haven't done a lot of like residential houses, but I've done a few of those. Bridges, roads, cemeteries. I think the only way to really, Jeremy just said, I'm ready for the jail, ready to do my experiments. I knew Jeremy was still watching. But I guess, like the assessment, I guess it also depends on the location because, you got, like anything else, you got locations that are relatively small, you could plan literally just very quickly. And then you got kind of like Crown Point Jail. Like Crown Point Jail, I think it either has, and Jeremy, if you're watching, correct me on this, there's either 4 or 5 floors. It's been a couple months since I've been there. So sometimes we'll plan, if we're going to go on different floors, but then you also got larger places like, let's say like Waverly Hills Sanatorium or what the place I was presenting earlier, Blenheim Palace. Those places are massive. You would literally have to spread out. Like if you would need a larger group. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's awesome if you had like the whole place to yourself, but for such large places like that, you would need like a full 3 floors. That's not including the basement.
Okay.
You would need like several, paranormal investigators, if you want the entire place investigated.
Okay. Well, I'm enjoying chatting with you, and I know that there are some other paranormal investigators in the chat. So all 3 of you, whoever's in here, feel free to answer these questions here. Just a quick, if you had a choice, just listen to, I'm going to throw a couple of things in here, Nick. You have a choice to investigate something that is 200 or 300 years old as opposed to something that is, something that happened within the last 20, 30 years. And so that being said, think about that. And this here, have you ever turned away not going to do an investigation on a place because of the circumstances surrounding it? Like the circumstances are just too gruesome, too violent. You already being a paranormal investigator knows what you would be getting into. So I'm curious about that. And the other individuals can comment as well.
So there actually is one location that I kind of turned away from. I mean, not only because that was my choice, but it was a residential property. So even if we wanted to, we couldn't get in anyway. And this is actually the first time I'm telling this about this place on any show. So a lot of people who have, a lot of those who are watching, this is the first time you guys are ever hearing this. But I promise, most of the time I never turn around. But this was one that we kind of had no choice. It was about 2 years ago. We were in the town of Kent, Ohio. It was one of the few paranormal trips that Tom was there too. It was one of the few paranormal trips that Tom and I were able to go on, despite the COVID pandemic, which was sky high back then. And as we're driving back home, as we're driving through Kent, I recalled about a house that was featured, and I can already tell you, it's going to give me chills just thinking about it. It was featured on an episode of a show called Paranormal Witness. It was an episode called Nightmare on Chestnut Street. Don't get me wrong. Despite the name of it, it's nothing like Freddy Krueger or anything like that. That's just
that's
the
a
name
relief.
of the show. The episode. And we went to the. I found out we were not too far from Chestnut Street. And I'm thinking, you know what? I said, Tom, that we're actually not too far from the episode. Like we're paranormal. To make a long story short, the house that we were going to go to was a house where now almost 20 years ago, back in 2004, there were 3 college students that actually stayed in the house along with a boyfriend of one of theirs, and they were finishing up their last year of college, which because Kent State University is nearby, and they got this house. We're all familiar with this in these haunted house stories. They got it at a ridiculously low cost. They move in. At first, things were doing fine, and then all of a sudden, one of the girls began having this horrific nightmare that involved this woman that showed up, and just the appearance of her, she reminded me of the girl from The Ring, because she wore like an old, torn up, like early 20th century white clothing. She had long dark hair, most of it covering her face. So again, kind of like The Ring. She had these gnarly, nasty, beastly looking teeth, huge, horrific eyes, and made this horrific sound. And yes, it was just a show. I mean, it did happen. They were showing it as a reenactment, and they were thrown into a reign of terrors, and they moved out. They didn't want to be in that house afterwards after some really horrible stuff. So we decided, I found the house of where it occurred. I even took a picture of it, although I wanted to hide, the house number so nobody could find it. And just pulling up to the house of where it occurred, although nothing actually happened, I could feel this negative energy that came. To make matters worse, I even had this nightmare that one of the students had. I actually had a similar dream that occurred to me about a night or so after. I freaked out. I mean, I actually felt like I went to church the next morning because I actually thought this woman may have followed me. But after that was it. And despite being a huge paranormal investigator watching these shows, I'll tell you right now, that was one of the few episodes along with that event that actually scared me, and I haven't watched that episode by myself since. That was probably one of the scariest episodes I've ever seen. Wow. And then being in the actual house and having a similar dream to what these students had, it's something I can't even describe to you. Yeah. I mean, even still, I'm getting goosebumps.
I know. You gave me goosebumps, so you described it quite well.
I'm just going to warn you right now, I would probably tell you, unless you want to see it with somebody, do not ever watch it by yourself. Because I watched it the first time I ever watched it. It was probably about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have to work the next morning, so I watched it. And I just remember after that, let's just say that I had some real trouble opening doors, like to dark black hallways. It freaked me out so bad.
I think everyone's been afraid of the dark. I actually
came across one of the images. Oh yeah, well, it's even scarier when you think what else could be on the other side of the door. And here's the weird part.
I'm just gonna. Internet connection. Oh, sorry.
Frozen.
There you are. Yeah, we just had a little blip in the technology. Just a couple more things, Nick, and I'll let you go. Some of your paranormal investigators have answered some of my questions. One of those was different venues, you get different results. I think you answered that question for sure. One final thing, Nick. Is it possible, and your friends can answer as well, because I don't know, honestly, can spirits move from different locations?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, most of the time they usually don't, because if you're looking at locations like what Jeremy said, he loves very, very old buildings. You got, places that are, again, like hundreds of years, 50 to 100 or hundreds of years old, that some of these spirits will often usually stay because that might be their only reminder of the past. Because we see in a lot of cases where you may have one location built and then you may have a number of other places built, but over the decades or centuries, a lot of those other buildings are sadly, torn down and replaced with more modern buildings or, areas. And they usually will see them as their only reminders of the past. But on some occasions, however, though, there are times where these spirits sometimes will attach themselves to, to visitors or to even investigators like us, because if you're communicating with someone or something, they might take a liking to you, and they might think, well, I don't know about you, but this guy's actually really nice, so I'm probably actually gonna go home with them. A lot of times we usually tell them, you can't come home with us. You just can't.
So to illustrate it, if there were two buildings on corners each on the other side of the street, and they were both haunted, and a building was torn down, those spirits could theoretically just cross the street and join the spirits in this building.
Sorry, what was that one more time, Matt? You froze there for a second.
If we got two buildings, one building, they both have spirits, and one building is torn down, because those spirits that now don't have a building, could they just go across the street and join the other building? Like, to put it in like the simplest of terms.
I think so, because, you have one building that's destroyed or torn down, and then you got one other building that's still standing. There may be a whole new place that's built from where the original building was demolished, and two of one things will usually happen. Those spirits will sometimes come back, go to that other location, or they'll still remain in that area, because even if the building or house is gone, they, what's the word I'm thinking of? They still see it as the land that they remembered in life.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, unfortunately, it's not always a good thing, because you got some of those spirits can end up becoming very angry, because this was their home. In their eyes, it was their homes in life.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was also, it was still their homes even in death.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Interesting. You are like one of the easiest persons to interview. I just have to ask you just short questions, although I do ramble on, but you're just great at explaining everything and painting a picture. But I want to leave you with this, because to my knowledge, I don't believe you've ever done any haunting investigations in Canada. Is that right?
Unfortunately not, but I am planning on it. Okay. So trust me, it will happen one day.
Okay.
Real soon.
Well, listen to this, because I've made contact with Paranormal Investigations Nova Scotia. And on their website, on their website, they list a lot of different areas of Nova Scotia that have ties to paranormal activity. And I just want to list a few, and you can find these. Go to Google Maps and you can find these. But there's a market in Amherst, Nova Scotia. There's a place in Truro, Pictou County, which is the home of our current premier. And two that I'll mention. Veith House, Veith. Veith House was an orphanage back in the day, and it was completely leveled when the Halifax explosion occurred. That's like a 60-second walk from here. That's a 60-second walk from here. And there's also a place, yes, and there's also, you'll love this one. There's a place in the city, its current occupants, it's a Fisherman Eatery. It's a pub in downtown Halifax. And this location, back in the day, was a funeral home and mortuary. And it, back in the day, was responsible. Listen to this, Nick. This building that is still there, some of the buildings, Halifax is just such a beautiful, well-preserved, historic Canadian city. And this place now, it's a pub. But back in the day, it was a funeral home and mortuary, and it received the victims of both the Titanic and the Halifax explosion. The bodies, the bodies of
unbelievable.
Two of the victims on the Titanic, and you can Google this information. Two of the victims, I believe one of the gentlemen was the richest individual on the boat, and the other individual was of significance. But so you can imagine the paranormal activity in that location. So I just wanted to leave you with that, because I know that you've never been here, and I would love for you and Tom and the rest of your friends to someday make a trek to Canada and pick me up along the way.
we definitely will do that because, in fact, the Things Network. I mean, even though we just started, the network really just a few months ago, we have actually had talks of possible, hopefully future international trips. And of course, one other person that would be great for these investigations because he's an investigator himself. You've met him as well. Is Wes Coleman?
Mm-hmm.
Since he does Cops Paranormal. In fact, the jail that he works at is a historic jail, in fact, which is also said to be rumored to be haunted. Chrissy just said road trip, let's go. But I will tell you this, although that's still in early developments, I can't guarantee anything, but a few weeks ago, my uncle from my mom's side of the family, he wanted us all to go to Canada. And of course, it stopped us like in our tracks. Like, well, wait a second. Like, where's this going? And we're like, well, that's an awesome idea. He even said he would cover for us. And he's like, well, this is the funny part. He's like, well, which part of Canada exactly are we going to? Because there's different parts. He's like, I don't know, just Canada. It's just like, but yeah, that's the other thing too. That actually a reminder. Tom, who's still watching, let me take back what I said. We're actually going to be, we will be in Canada in June because we're going to be heading up to New York for an investigation at Wildwood Sanatorium, and it's near the eastern area of New York.
Yes.
So we're actually going to be pretty close, right along the border. So my mom and I are actually currently working right now to get my passport. So there actually may be a very good chance I'll be in Canada later this year.
Nice. Awesome. Listen, Nick,
Yeah.
I want to thank you. You are I've only said Matt TV maybe 4 or 5 times in the last couple of days because this is not that anymore. This is the second show of Facebook Live with Matthew. You're my first guest, and you've been on this. We've shared a lot of screen time, and I always appreciate you taking the time out of your night because I know you just had a marathon, and I wouldn't be surprised if you're getting ready to go do another one right now. Are you?
Yeah, I mean, this is just, I even said this is kind of just like the beginning because, and again, I'm glad, yeah, and also, just before I forget, Jeremy's actually coming to this trip too. So, but yeah, we're supposed to be doing, so I was told earlier by Jeremy as well as some of the other people on the Things Network, Ernie and Denise Packer are supposed to be doing a show later tonight. It's another one of these shows of, I don't know if you got a lot of word about this. One of our favorite locations, Waverly Hills Sanatorium, which is located down in Louisville, Kentucky. Literally one of the most famous haunted places in the world. I've investigated it. I think almost every investigator you could think of has investigated at least once. It was actually my very first location that really started my paranormal career at a young age, when I was only like 17 years old. But unfortunately, Waverly is currently, for lack of better terms, it's in danger right now because there's a nonprofit organization that has taken hold of the building. They threw the original owners out, which they've kept this place for 20 years and have restored this building. It was literally just the two of them. I mean, they sometimes did have some extra hands, but this was it was their way of restoring it and kind of living in it. It was their house too. So, the guides, Denise and Ernie Pack of Packman Paranormal, are going to be doing another show, and a lot of us on the Things Network are going to try to join in. I already volunteered to join in on the show to just show support. But of course, and I said this for almost every show, if you want to help us out in any way, even if you just want to spend a few dollars, we do have a site that's it's still under development, but it's going to be coming out soon. It's called SaveWaverlyHills.com. As well as there's a Facebook page. So, and this has become a worldwide thing. So, if you want to, make a little donation or whatnot, we'd really appreciate it.
Okay. If there's any links that you want to put up in the comment section after this, feel free to do that. Nick, I want to be the first one on the internet to wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you very much, Matt. I really appreciate it. And better enjoy it now because my last full year in my 20s. Next year, big 3-0. So, oh man, yep. Actually, Jeremy just put the link in the comments. So thank you very much, Jeremy. So, they also have a TikTok too. I didn't know about that.
Who doesn't have
But yes,
TikTok?
yeah, last full year.
Okay. Nick?
Surprisingly, I don't, because...
Oh. You don't have a TikTok?
What's that? No, I don't have it. Oh, they already did their show a couple hours ago. I thought it was later tonight. Okay, I guess there is no show afterwards then for me. No, I don't have a TikTok because, there are so many social apps coming out. You got TikTok, you got Instagram, you got Tumblr, you got Twitter. For a brief period, you had House Party. I mean, it's just, there's just so many apps out there that I can't keep up with all of them. And even if I did try using them, I got over a couple thousand friends now on Facebook. You would have to go through all the painful process of, re-adding everybody. So I just stick to Facebook. I can't keep up with all of it. And they say, like, TikTok is popular now. How do we not know there's going to be another social media app that's going to come out in just a few months, and it's, like, more popular than TikTok?
Yeah. Well,
so I just stick with Facebook.
Well, the good thing about just having Facebook, you just have one password to try not to forget, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
I don't know
Nick.
what it is. Are you seeing something that keeps going down my shoulder or something?
No.
There's something that keeps coming down. I don't know if that's dust or what.
No. I don't know. You're a paranormal investigator. Weird things happen to you, man. That's just part of your life.
Oh, yeah. No surprise.
Okay, Nick. You can excuse yourself out of this. Always a pleasure talking with you. Happy birthday. And I hope to see you on this side of the border in the near future.
Yes, absolutely. I will keep you in touch once we do that. And Jeremy says, don't do it. It's a trap. Oh, boy. Now I'm going to be in a turf war with TikTok. Great job.
Awesome. Okay, Nick.
All right, but thank you so much. It's always a pleasure coming on your show. And again, I'll keep you in touch of, what's going on. And again, you ever need a guest or someone, give me a shout out.
Absolutely.
I'm always here.
Okay. Have a good night, Nick. Happy birthday.
All right, you too.
Awesome. Nick Mulae in Glenview, Illinois this evening. Paranormal investigator. I think you probably know a little bit more about Nick, a little bit more about paranormal investigating. I know I certainly do. There was a question I was going to ask him when we first started talking about the video on the 21st on Cuba Road. I wanted to ask him, and I'll ask you, the paranormal investigators that are still watching, have you ever just been driving down a dark road, not having any equipment, maybe a flashlight, but you're on your way home from somewhere. You're not coming home from an investigation. The vehicle is completely empty. You're by yourself. You don't necessarily have to be driving down Cuba Road, but you're driving down a dirt road, a desolate road, and your high beams pick up a set of glowing eyes off in the distance. Do you stop and check it out? Because this guy, well, I'm just accelerating. I'm just accelerating on the gas. Just a couple more things. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. So I just want to let you know, I'm just going to finish on a couple of things. Let you know what's happening with the rest of the shows as I finish my second night of 5 consecutive nights. I know I went over 30 minutes, and that's okay. I'll take the heat tomorrow from the principal. I'll be okay. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be speaking with a very amazing individual, Steve Wilsack. Friday night, 9 o'clock. These are all 9 o'clock shows. Friday night, I'll be speaking with my good friend. I've known this individual for many, many years. We graduated together in Woodstock High School, 1991. I'll be speaking with my good friend Simon McGinnis Friday night. We're going to talk about his podcast that he's doing and something else that he has underway, Quilts of Valor. So we're going to talk to Simon about those two things. That's happening on Friday night. And I have something lined up for Monday of next week. I'll be speaking with an individual I haven't even met yet. I just reached out to her today, sent her a message, told her, this is what I'm doing. Would you like to come on my show and tell people a little bit about yourself? And she's going to do that. So I'll be speaking with Christy Carter on Monday. Very talented. One of the things she does is she is a stunt person. So stunt double. So she is one of those individuals who does stunts in television and movies. So looking forward to speaking with Christy, who is a friend of Steve Wilsack. Okay. I'll just mention this. We are two more things, and I'll close off here. We're on the 6th floor of an apartment building, North End, Halifax, Nova Scotia. We've been here for a couple of months. Across the hall is a single mother and her amazing son, who is maybe 6 or 7. We had a discussion out in the hall before coming on here. She's from Egypt, and she was in Egypt when all that civil unrest was happening a few years ago. So she understands not having freedom. Where did she move to? Canada. Why? Freedom. So for the Canadians who don't think they have freedom, for the love of God, be very thankful for where you are. Be thankful for what you have. Because right now, and I said it last night, Ukraine is being invaded by Russia right now. So there are many, many terrified Ukrainians fleeing their own country. So don't go to bed tonight in your nice, comfortable bed with electricity, food in the fridge, complaining that you don't have any freedom. Okay, that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for the live views. If you're watching this at your leisure, I hope you enjoyed the program. I hope you took something away from it. I know I certainly did. And I love having Nick Mulae on this show. So that's going to do it for me. I'm back here again tomorrow night, 23 hours. I'll be back doing the exact same thing. And I'll be speaking with Steve Wilsack, who is in the Wolfville, Kentville area, 2.5 hours away from here, just on the northern part, or I guess it would be considered the western part. Yeah, the western part of Nova Scotia. If you look at it geographically, you're going west when you leave here. You have to be, or we can't go any further east than Halifax. But I'm looking forward to speaking with Steve tomorrow. Yes, let's do that before we all go to bed tonight. Just get on your hands and knees, do whatever you need to do, pray, send out some thoughts, send out some healing energy to Ukraine right now. The world is watching. Talking about an event that the world is watching, it's what's happening in Ukraine. We're going to do this again tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, promise. This is Facebook Live with Matthew. I guess it only shuts off with my thumb.